Hi, what's up, everyone? It's Tyler here, part of the Team Let's Eat group, owner of the Wolves of Wall Street group, giving you an analysis in the market for the week of November 19 into the beginning of December. And this is also going to be the last NFP week of the year, so we should get some really nice movement on those USD pairs and some other pairs. We got a 4 pairs breakdown today. We have the pound Aussie, pound yen, pound USD. You know how I love those pound pairs. That's pretty much all I trade. And gold. So let's just get right into it. We'll start off with what happened last week. If you watched last week's video, the market opens right here, okay? And then what we expected is a sell to make the wick on the weekly candle, and then an explosive move to the upside, which is exactly what happened. We did get some sell entries here that were announced in the groups, and that was a roughly 100 pips. And throughout the week, it was a little bit choppy because of Thanksgiving and whatnot, but we got some buy entries. I personally got like 4 different entries as it chopped around, and Friday it just freaking exploded. Phenomenal. And basically that's what we're looking for again this week. So same concept, but probably going to be a little bit different structure. In fact, I can almost guarantee you it's going to be different structure, but the same concept as where I'm looking for price to come around here and move down, and we will definitely catch this sell because that is around 150 pips this time. And then we're going to be looking to buy to the upside. So deleting this, looking at the daily, you can see how large this bullish pressure is. And actually, let me zoom out to the weekly. So this is what I mean by that weekly wick, guys. Every week has a wick like this. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger, but all the weeks have a wick. And typically the wick will extend to or close to the previous open or low if it's going up, or the open up here, or high, if it's going down. So this week I'm looking for the same thing. All right, I'm predicting that we are going to continue this bullish pressure. If you look here, starting with this one, you can see this following wick on the weekly moved up, and then it tanked, and then look at this weekly. See this huge bearish pressure. Look at how big this wick goes. It goes way up here and then it comes down, right? This one moves a little bit. This wick moves way up here, and so on and so forth. And like I said, that is pretty much what I'm looking for to see this week. Going into the daily level, actually 4-hour level, we clearly have the structural level right here. Well, also the other level that catches my eye is going to be down here. So what I'm really looking for is the sell entry. 30 minutes. Let me zoom out. So 1 hour actually, so you can see this better. So we'll look at it at the 10-minute in a second, but what I'm looking for is price to creep up here and kind of hover. And as long as we don't start blasting past this and we start moving sideways, I'm going to be placing sell entries and holding that to around this level. And once we get into this level, I'm closing everything, because now our eyes are not fixed on how many pips can we capture for the sell movement. Our eyes are going to be fixed on the structure to get in the best place for a buy entry. So the sell is pretty much just like a little bonus to start off the week. The large move is going to be the buys from this area. So again, once we move down into this area, we're going to be closing a majority or pretty much all of the trade of the sell, and then just waiting and paying attention to structure so we can get a buy entry. Now, looking at this, you can see price pretty much since right here has moved completely sideways for how long is that? About 4 hours. Now, what I'm looking for for the sell entry is after open, maybe a few hours after open, kind of later into the Asian session this day, tonight. Yep. I'm looking for price to move up towards this high of last week, 1.8765. Whether we tap that high, break above it and come back down, or we hover below it and stall sideways, either way, oops, this highlighted area is where I am looking to place the entries. Okay, right around here. Doesn't matter, was this 20 pips, 30 pip range? Doesn't matter, just somewhere in here. I can't predict it fully right now because we need the structure in the candles to print out, right? But I am looking to place the entries in this area. And again, once we get down here, which is roughly 170 pips, I'm probably going to close 100% of the trade once we get right here, because as soon as you get right here, the eyes are completely focused on buy entries. So I don't even care about, holding that sell, because I don't think it'll, once we get down here, I'm expecting that the price to start turning around. So we're just going to take that money off the table and place our bag on the buy entry, because the buys is going to be a solid 300 pips. So overall, we're looking at like 450 pips on pound Aussie this week. Place whatever lot size you need to do on that to capture a good bag for yourself. Full intuition and trust. If I always say, like, if the trade's going to go and you're right, then the trade's going to go and you're right. So you might as well, if it's going to go, then you might, instead of putting, you could put a 0.1 on it, or you could put a 0.5 on it, right? Because if you're right and it's going to go, then you might as well capitalize on it and make as much money as you can on it as possible. Now, you don't want to do that with every trade. You want to do it when it gets to the point where it's almost guaranteed. So like right off the bat, it's not guaranteed, but let's say you take a small entry right here, and then you get some more structure, and the structure shows massive rejection, right? And then it breaks structure and it pulls back and everything's looking good, and you literally feel it in your gut that, wow, this trade's probably actually going to go down. Then send it and then capitalize it much as possible. So I'll zoom out real quick just so you can see what type of thing we're seeing here. So look back to when the price was moving down. You see how we pushed down right here, and then we pulled back before we continued, and then we pulled back right here before we continued, even right here, right? See how, see this right here, this little movement right here. So this is 160 pips, right? So let's say price is right here, and this move just happened, right? And you're thinking, okay, price is going to continue down, but it's going to pull back first on that new day, right? I put the 17 right here where this line is a new day. So look, the new day happens, it comes up here, 170 pips up, and then it drops, right? That's what we're really looking at right here, 160, 170 pips to the downside, and then we're going to move up. How quickly that happens, I don't know. I am expecting the sell to happen rather quickly, but it all depends on how long it stalls down here for the buy. I'm not sure about that. This past week we stalled for a few days, but we held the trade, right? We trusted the trade was going to happen. We held it. We stayed in it. We actually added some more entries, and it took off. So I am expecting, a good flow just like this. How we pushed, we pulled back. We didn't waste that much time, right? It was pretty much just a few 4-hour candles. You can see this one spiked right back up to the entry, and then it continued down. So we're looking for something like that, but on the upside angle. Pretty clear, pretty obvious, just repeating the cycle of what happened last week and every week, really. That's it for the pound Aussie. Sell and buy. Pound yen, another pair that we traded last week that had an exceptional movement. We had 153.9 6.95 marked up. The market opened right around here, right here actually. So what we look for is price to pull back to that level, right? We had the nice impulse down. We look for the corrective structure. We place some entries here, and the target was this low right here. And as you can see, price absolutely smashed it almost to the pip. That worked extremely well. And now we're really looking for that continuation. Same thing with pound os. It's really the same thing on every pair, but let's take a look up here just to get a glimpse of what happened in the past. So we see this nice push to the downside and then a good old corrective structure all the way up here. Same thing, push down, nice corrective structure. And let's measure these. So this corrective structure, 150 pips, 120 pips, 140 pips, 215 pips, 140 pips, right? So that's what I'm looking for in this. I'm looking for around 170 pips to the upside and then continuation down to these lows. Honestly, I was not expecting price to continue down like that. But here we are and it's happening. So we're going to be trading it. The target is going to be probably not the very bottom of that. Probably it's going to be something like this, right? This imbalance right here. So just under 150 or around 150 is going to be the ultimate sell target. Now zooming in on the 30-minute, there is a very clear buy opportunity here because this is 170 pips. So very similar to pound Aussie, how we're looking to sell before we buy to make that weekly wick. That's what I'm looking for here. So taking a look at all these candles, as you can see, I'm not even going to get into it that deeply right now, just because we always do. We always know what's going on. But you see these wicks that are being created. That's what I'm expecting. Okay, I'm not expecting it to come all the way back up here. I'm expecting it to come about halfway through this weekly candle, which is 152.5-ish, right? So back to the 30-minute. The only way I am going to enter this buy before we hit the sell is if we come back down to this low right here. If market opens and we just move down 10 pips and then we start going up, then I'm not looking to buy. I am only looking to sell. And I'm really looking to sell once we get into this range of these two levels right here. Okay, we got some imbalance here. See how there's no wick right here. So there's some orders there that haven't been filled, but price will most likely, what I foresee, similar to last week. So let's look up here. This is the exact level we had marked last week. Very similar to last week, how we kind of chopped. We went a little bit above, right? I could have marked, actually did mark these two levels. See how, if I zoom in, you might be able to see it better. This level right here. This is the level I originally marked to sell from, but I also had this level just to make a range in it. Pretty much stayed in there perfectly. Entries were placed here, got some drawdown, it dumped here and here. So that's really what I'm looking for again this week, but just lower, right? We're looking for the same style of structure just down here. So hopefully we can move down here. How many pips is this? Like 60 pips down. We're going to wait. We're going to see if we can buy up 160 pips or so. Once it hits this first level, I'm pretty much going to be closing the entire buy. And then exactly the same with pound Aussie. I'm going to have my eyes fixed on looking for sell. So I'm going to be paying attention to the structure and looking to how the structure is forming. I would like to see something like this. See how we have this impulse down and then we kind of slowly crept back up. And even right here, but on a smaller scale, we impulse down and then we slowly crept back up. That's what I would like to see here. I would like to see, once price gets down here, I would like to see a nice move slow back up and then just a tip over, right? See how it just tipped over? Because we could look at this on the grand scale of things and draw that, right? We kind of squeezed right here, actually. There we go. So impulse down, slowly move up, entries at the tops, and then we tanked. So that's what I'm looking for around here. I'm looking for that decently slow, maybe a day or two, move to the upside, close the buy entry, get in the sell entry, and hold that sell all the way down to 150-ish. So zooming out on the 4-hour, looks something like this. Right, buy to sell. Pretty much the exact opposite of, no. Pretty much the exact opposite of pound Aussie. These two move kind of opposite of each other sometimes, which is nice. I believe that is because of the Aussie and the yen. That's why they move opposite. So the next pair is pound USD. And looking at the daily, let's start right here, up top, and go down. So we move down, we'll pull back, push down, we pull back. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 days, it pulls back, down, we pull back, and down. Let's measure these pullbacks. 170 pips, 160 pips. So that's pretty much what I'm looking to see right here. If you pay attention to the daily, see how we pushed down into these levels and then it stalled. And then it stalled again, but it snapped down and it grabbed a bunch of liquidity. So let's pay attention to that on the 4-hour now. Actually, we'll zoom in all the way to the 1-hour. You see how we'll do the most recent 3. See, 1, 2, 3 highs. 1, 2, 3 lows, or you can even do 1, 2, 3 down here. See how we squeezed, we grabbed the liquidity and then we popped out. So I'm looking for this to be a somewhat fast moving pair. And this is going to be the first target. If we break this high, this is definitely the second target, and full position will be closed right here. Now, the one thing I do see is this level right here. Because of the fact that this is a downtrend and, you know, I'm open to all sorts of information that the market provides, I am fully aware that this might potentially be a strong resistance. Now, if we break this, which I'm believing that we're going to, if we do break this, I can almost completely guarantee you that we will come up here and most likely up here, just based off the weekly levels, which I'll go to the weekly in a minute. I'm going to delete these first. Looking at the weekly, that's where these levels marked in or came in. So we have this high of this weekly and then this high of this weekly. Right? We also have the high of last week right here. That's marked. So what I'm looking for is this next weekly or possibly 2 to be bullish. Now, if that's going to happen, what that means is this next week will not spend a lot of time moving down. It will just move down to make a wick. So what are we going to do? We're going to pay attention to the 1-hour and 30-minute as it moves down, because it will move down. It's just a matter of where and when is it going to turn around and start moving to the upside. My eyes have this structure right here, this level, which if you look To the left, you could look at it as a little inverted head and shoulders if you like that pattern. I bet on the 10-minute, see right here, right here, right here. So what I'm looking for is price. Once it hits this level, I will start considering placing a buy entry. I would love to see it possibly dip down more. I'm completely open to the fact, and actually, I think it'd be great if price came all the way to last week's low, possibly spiked below it, creating that weekly wick spike below it, and then it starts coming back up. That's what I would prefer to have, because that will give us more room for more pips and a better entry. So I would love to see price come down here one more time to this low, possibly below it, or just in this vicinity is where I would love to place the buy entry. Now, last week's high, which is this minor level we marked, will be the first target. It's 170 pips from the entry. That's a good amount of pips. That's definitely where some of the trade will be taken off. The rest of it, part of that will be held to 230 pips, which is the previous 2 weeks ago. And if we hit this week, I think next week we will move down and get another entry to hit this high here. So I highly doubt, I can almost guarantee we will not hit this high this week if we're going to make that move to the upside. I think this will be a 2-week cycle, but we can hold partials from down here. We definitely want to make sure we take some of the trade off right here just to capture that profit. And then the next week we can look to add more entries. So we'll have entries down here, and then based off whatever structure price makes, we'll have more entries up in here for the full swing, similar to what we're doing with this pair. So we had entries down here. Now we're going to get entries again. Same sort of thing, but I think we're going to start that cycle down here. So that's what we're going to be looking for with the pound USD. Simply looking to buy around this level, partials, second partials, and then possibly next week, more entries and swing all the way to the upside. So we got gold. Gold is the last one. So let's take a look at history real quick. Right here, dumped, corrective move, takes a couple days. Then we slowly and then fastly move down. This structure right here is what I'm looking to see right here. We had the impulse move down. Now I'm looking to see it slowly creep back up here. And entries will be placed right here for sells. The target is going to be 1760, which a few weeks ago we were selling. We sold all 3 of these tops to 1760. That's the target again, and possibly even 1745, which is down here, or even 1723. Right, it really depends on if we break this level or not, but this is going to be the first target because that's 500 pips, and that is plenty. You got to close some at some point, right? So going to definitely be closing 90% of the trade right here. But it's pretty simple. I mean, this right here, push down, that's like initiating the move, telling us it's going to happen. And then as we come up here, we look to enter as it gets back into the structure levels. And I believe it also went to the Fibonacci, right? If I drive that Fibonacci, you can see it lines up pretty well. That's what I'm looking for right here. So draw the Fibonacci, right? So between this area is where I'm going to be looking to place my sell entries. Gold Go to the 10-minute. What I do notice is that this candle does not have a wick, which again means orders have not been filled there. So this 50 pip range between 1804 and 1809 is where I'm going to be looking for gold to come into and maybe chop around a little bit. And this is where the entries will be placed. Stop losses will be above here because if we're going to move down and we're going to continue down, we will not touch this high again. We will make a lower high. So a stop loss anywhere around this high is going to be safe. So the higher gold can go, the better for us. I would love to see it hit this 1810 because then our stop loss can be very slightly above here at 60 pips. And even at 60 pips, that's 480 pips to the downside. That's like an 8-1, 7-1 risk to reward. It's a very good risk to reward. So that's what I'm looking to see with gold. Is pretty simple. There's not a lot to it. That's it for the week. Just a quick run through again. 4-hour. Right, we're looking to sell pound Aussie to here, and then buy it to the upside. The exact opposite with the pound yen. I'm looking to buy it here and then sell it down here. Pound USD, we're looking to buy pound USD, hopefully under 1.33 down in this region, taking it to last week's high or the week prior. And gold, simply waiting for price to creep back up into these levels. Sell entries will be placed here, and target is 1760. That's it.